Hello everyone, this is Anthony from One Cut Studio. This series seeks to compare the rule set and changes between the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons and the newer 2024 edition. As a DM, my party and I have been using 5th edition for a long time, and we're trying to decide whether or not to make the jump to the 2024 rule set. If you, like me, want to know what changes have been made and if you should make the switch, then this series is for you. In this series, we're going to explore the main classes, subclasses, and core rules. I will try to provide one-to-one comparisons whenever possible, but as a disclaimer, I will also share my own opinions as to the design and content. Today, we're going to look at the Bard class. So, this is the Bard class. There's some wording changes. The class features are now called core traits. For the Bard, most of the core traits features have stayed the same. So your hit die is the same, it's still a D8. Your saving throw proficiency is still dexterity and charisma. When you make your character at level 1, you can choose any 3 skills to be proficient in. That hasn't changed. There has been a change in the weapon proficiency. In 5th edition, you were proficient in simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. In the 2024 edition, they got rid of the hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords, and you just have proficiency in the simple weapons. When it comes to armor proficiency, that hasn't changed. Tool proficiencies, you still get 3 musical instruments. And when it comes to starting equipment, they made the packages a little bit more easier to choose in 2024. In the 5th edition, you could choose from A, which is a rapier, a longsword, or a simple weapon. You get one of those choices. You get one from B. You get either a diplomat's pack or entertainer's pack. And you get one from C. You get a lute or you get another musical instrument. And then for any of those other 3 options, you also get the leather armor and the dagger. Now, when it comes to 2024, you get 2 choices. You get A, which includes the leather armor, 2 daggers, musical instrument, and entertainer's pack, plus 19 gold. Or B, you get 90 gold pieces to buy whatever equipment and armament you want for yourself. So I do like that they streamlined that, a little less clunkier than the 5th edition. Now comes the very important part, looking at the Bard features. We're going to look at what features have stayed the same and what has changed. So your Bardic Inspiration die, that has stayed the same. It scales with level just like in 5e, same as in 2024. What I do like that they add in the 2024 edition is they added your Bardic Inspiration die to your feature table. Before, it was just listed under the class features, and it said, you get an extra one at, it goes up at this level, and then it goes up at this level. But right now, in the 2024 edition, it's listed on the table for you. Proficiency bonuses, those have stayed the same between the 2 editions. You don't have to worry about that. And then number of cantrips known also is the same as it is in 24 as it is in 5e. And your number of spell slots per level stayed the same from 5e to 2020 to 24. Now, they did do a lot of moving features around. They kept a lot of features. They added a few in, and they got rid of one feature entirely. So noticeably absent from the 2024 edition is the Song of Rest feature. They got rid of it completely, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think overall the new Bard features in 2024 are a good move, a good choice. A little bit better design for flexibility. But we'll talk about that more as we go on. So let's look here at level 1. In level 1, comparing 5e to 2024, you'll notice that you still get spellcasting and you still get Bardic Inspiration. It's highlighted yellow because those mechanics have changed. Things highlighted in red are things that they've gotten rid of per level. Green highlights are ones they've added in, and yellow is ones that they have changed. You'll also notice that there is 5e says known spells and 2024 prepared spells. When we talk about spellcasting a little bit later on. You'll see some changes there, but for the most part, known spells and prepared spells, they mean the same thing. They're just vocabulary is different. But there is a difference in how the number, the quantity. So, for example, at levels 1 through 4, you see 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it jumps to 9 in 2024 edition, where it was still an 8 in 5th. So you get more of your prepared spells, basically. They just did some adjusting, and as it goes along, like one of the things you notice, you'll have, it's more of an even distribution, whereas in 5th edition your known spells was 20 at level 17, and then it jumped to 22 and 18, and it stayed that way for 3 levels. In the 2024 edition, I don't get to 22 until you get to level 20. So we'll talk a bit about spellcasting in a little bit as we go on. Here at level 2, you still get Jack of all trades from 5e to 2024, and that hasn't changed. But you get, and Song of Rest is gone, but you also get expertise. Now, expertise in the 5th edition introduced was in level 3, but you're getting it a level earlier in the 2024 edition. At level 3, they have the Bard Colleges. That is the subclasses. That was level 5, or 5e at level 3. Those are the subclasses. And in 2024, they just called it for what it is. Instead of saying Bard College, it's the Bard subclass. It's a subclass. That's what it is. Level 4, ability score improvement hasn't changed. At level 5, you have Bardic Inspiration. 5th edition, your Bardic Inspiration increased. That also increases in the 2024 edition to a D8 at this level. So from here on out, wherever it says Bardic Inspiration, I'm not going to say anything more about it, just because it stayed the same. Font of Inspiration, you still get that at level 5, but Font of Inspiration, some of the mechanics are different, which is why it's highlighted. We'll talk about that soon. In 5th edition, we had Counter Charm and Bard College feature. In the 2024 edition, you still have your subclass feature, but they moved Counter Charm to level 7. As you can see in 5th edition, there was nothing at level 7, so it makes sense that they kind of spread it out, and you get something at least at level 7 for the 2024 edition. They also changed the mechanics for Counter Charm, which is why it's highlighted in yellow. At level 8, you get an ability score improvement for level 5, or for 5th edition, but in the 2024 edition, you get Zilch, nada. In the 5th edition, we had Song of Rest, which got rid of, but you get another usage of expertise for 2024. For the 5th edition at level 10, there was Bardic Inspiration, Expertise, and Magical Secrets. Magical Secrets you still keep at level 10. You got your Expertise a level earlier, and like I said, the Bardic Inspiration scales normally. Level 11, both editions have nothing going on. At level 12, ability score improvement, same as for both editions. For level 13, not much going on. At 5th edition, Song of Rest is gone, and in the 2024 edition, you got Zilch. When it comes to level 14, at 5th edition, you had Magical Secrets and a subclass feature. Magical Secrets is gone. You only get it at level 10, but the effect of Magical Secrets actually lasts throughout each as you level up. So it's changed, so you don't need to get it again. We'll talk about Magical Secrets a little bit later on. So you get your subclass feature. That's the same. At level 15, it says Bardic Inspiration D12. That's for 5th edition. For 2024, you don't get any other features, but according to the table, your Bardic Inspiration does go up a D12 to a D12 at this level. Ability score improvement is same for both. Level 16. At level 17, you get Zilch, because I guess your Song of Rest is gone. They got rid of it. At level 18, you would have gotten another magical secret in 5th edition. But in 2024, this is where, these last 3 levels is where I say the Bard changes the most. So in 2024, you get Superior Inspiration, which was something you got at level 20 in the 5th edition. So they moved it down 2 levels. And we'll review the changes made to Superior Inspiration because it's highlighted yellow, which means they changed the mechanic. So that brings us to level 19. Guess what? No level 19 ability score improvement. Just like the Barbarian, you get an epic boon instead. I talked about this in the Barbarian episode, but I think really what they're trying to do with this is most people don't play into the epic levels past 20, and so, hey, we have these cool epic boons, let's get it to them earlier and make them have their character instantly more powerful, which is often good for these high levels. I understand it, but then again, you're not really playing epic levels, so they must have gotten rid of that mechanic or changed that mechanic somehow. And then at level 20, like I said, in 5th edition, you had Superior Inspiration, which was kind of a meh ability. It wasn't that great. But you get it earlier at the 2024 edition, and then you get something else they've added, which is Words of Creation, which we'll talk about soon. Also, a very powerful, potentially game-breaking ability, which has added a little bit more oomph to the Bard class. So now let's go in detail a little bit more about these core features, starting with Bardic Inspiration. So they made some changes to Bardic Inspiration, and as you can see in 5e, it was a bonus action. You can target a creature other than you within 60 feet who can hear you. They get a Bardic Inspiration die, right? And then they get 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, they can roll that and apply it to an attack roll, ability check, or a saving throw. In this version, the creature has to choose to roll the die before they know whether they succeeded or failed. And then you can only have one Bardic Inspiration at a time if you're a creature. And then as the Bard, you can use this feature a number of times per day equal to your Charisma modifier. Some of those things have changed in the 2024 edition. It's still a bonus action. It still targets one creature within 60 feet. Here's the difference. They can also see you to gain benefit from Bardic Inspiration. So it's not just hearing you anymore. They can see you. One of the easiest ways in the 5th edition was to shut down a Bard was to silence them. And this gives your Bard a little bit more... it doesn't take away their core ability just by getting them silenced. So they can also, it gives them a little bit more flexibility. They can also do something and inspire their teammates if they can see them. And then they also changed the duration of how long that inspiration lasts. So instead of 10 minutes in 5e, it now lasts a full hour. And the other thing that I like about this is that you don't have to choose. If you're the creature rolling the inspiration die, you don't have to choose to roll it whether before you succeed or fail. This is when you fail. So it's an attack roll, a saving throw, or a skill check, and you failed, you can roll that inspiration die to add on top of it. So it's not like you guessing whether you think you fail or not. You failed. So sometimes in the previous edition, you might roll a Bardic Inspiration die thinking you failed when actually you already met the DC. It could have been a really low DC, but you wouldn't know because you saw a low roll and you're like, dang, I need to buff this roll up or I'm going to fail. So you end up wasting your Inspiration die. So I think with the 2024 edition, I do like those changes to the Bardic Inspiration. Now let's talk about level 1 spell casting, the changes to spell casting. The cantrips, the same number, same spell slots. The only difference between the editions with cantrips is that whenever you gain a bard level, you can swap out I wrote when cantrip. One cantrip you know. So you level up and you don't like your cantrip, you can swap it out. You can do that once per level. So that gives your character more flexibility in their spell list. It also prevents your spell list from becoming stale. So I do like that change. You couldn't do that in the 5th edition. Spells known, spells prepared. That's just changed in wording. There used to be, in the 5th edition, the number of spells you knew versus the spells you prepared were different. It seems like they're trying to get rid of that difference, but I won't know for sure until I really dig into the spellcasting rules and how spellcasting works for the other spellcasting classes, especially like wizards, where they're book learners and they have to, pick from, a bunch of spells that they know, and then they have to prepare. So it can get a little bogged down in the weeds for spellcasting and choosing things. But for all intents and purposes right now, it seems like the known and prepared are the same across 5e to 2024. You can also swap out a spell that you know with another one on your list, as long as that, when you gain a level, as long as you're able to cast that level of spell. Your spellcasting ability is still Charisma. That hasn't changed for the Bard. One thing that's noticeably absent in the class description is the formula. It doesn't exist in the 2024 edition. So you know that thing where it gives you your spell save DC and your spell attack, the 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. That doesn't exist in the 2024 edition. I'm assuming that it exists, at least it doesn't exist in the class description, but maybe later on in the spell casting rules. Ritual casting was something in 5th edition. You can cast any bard spell that has a ritual tag. It doesn't seem there was no ritual casting rule, at least in the class description in the 2024 edition. I have to do a little bit more research about ritual casting in 2024 and see if it's something that they possibly got rid of altogether, because how often do people really do ritual casting? Spellcasting focus, that hasn't changed. You can use your instrument as a spellcasting focus, so same in both editions. Let's move on to level 2. Again, like I said, Song of Rest removed. That was a skill where when your party was resting and they roll hit die, they get to expend an extra D6 or D8 or D10 or D12 based on level. So it's just a little bit of a healing boost to short rests. Now, Jack of all trades, that remains the same in both editions. It's half your proficiency bonus rounded down to an ability check you don't have proficiency with. Expertise remains the same. You get 2 skills that you can gain double proficiency for. You just get this feature a level earlier in the 2024 edition. When we come to level 3 subclasses, we're going to talk about subclasses in another video. I'm not going to go into detail now on the subclasses. But for 5e, you had College of Lore, College of Valor. Those subclasses still exist in 2024, but they've added additional subclasses, the College of Dance and the College of Glamour, which, if I'm not mistaken, are also from some of the supplemental materials for 5e. At level 5, you get your Font of Inspiration. These have changed. The mechanics have changed from 5e to 2024. In 5e, you regain all your expended uses of Bardic Inspiration when you finish a short or long rest. That hasn't changed in the 2024 edition, but what has changed is that in addition, you can expend a spell slot requiring no action on your part and regain 1 expended use of Bardic Inspiration. So it allows for a little bit more flexibility in buffing your allies, eschew a spell slot and get a Bardic Inspiration back. At level 6, and I do like that change. In level 6, for 5th edition, you had Counter Charm. It is now level 7 in 2024. And again, I do like the change to Counter Charm. I think it makes it more useful. So in 5th edition, it was an action, and you had to start a performance that ends until the start of your next turn. And then you and any friendly creatures within 30 feet of you had advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. And a creature must hear you to gain this benefit. And then the performance ends early if you are incapacitated, silenced, or you voluntarily end it. In 2024, if you or a creature within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw against an effect that applies the charmed or frightened condition, you can take a reaction to cause the save to be re-rolled, and the new roll has advantage. So with the 5th edition, Counter Charm was more like you are trying to anticipate something that's going to happen, right? So you use a whole action to do it. And you do your song because you think that the enemy is going to do some sort of charm or frighten effect. And if they don't do it on their next turn, before your song is over, then that whole turn was wasted. And that's not really a counter because you are you're preempting it. So in 2024, you're using a reaction. That is more appropriate for an ability that's a counter. And you are specifically countering charmed or frightened, an effect. So it's a reaction, and then it gives them an advantage on that re-roll, right? So to me, that seems like a more appropriate counter charm effect, and also one that doesn't waste an action for you to anticipate something. You could have done this in 5e. You could have started your counter charm. And then the DM, I'm not saying that the DM would do this purposely, but they might say, well, the creature doesn't use, the harpy doesn't use their luring song, and that kind of just leaves you in the lurch because you just wasted your turn. So I do like the 2024 edition revision to Counter Charm. I think it's way better. Let's move on to level 10, Magical Secrets. It's another thing that the mechanic has changed a little bit, and also in a big way, in a way that I think benefits the Bard class pretty well. So in the 5th edition, you got Magical Secrets at 10th, 14th, and 18th level. In 2024 edition, you get Magical Secrets only at the 10th level, but you can actually use the benefits of Magical Secrets every time you level. And we'll go into that in a minute. So at 5e, it was choose 2 spells from any class, including this one. So you can basically Bard. And the spell must be of a level you can cast, and they count as Bard spells that are included in the number of your spells known. And then you get 2 additional spells from any class at 14th and again at 18th level. So what that is basically 6 spells from any class, all right? When you get to 2024, one of the changes is that it's not from any class. They limit you to Bard, Cleric, Druid, or Wizard spell lists. Okay, so you're thinking, well, there goes, my options. But even with those 4 class lists, there are a lot of spells, okay? And it's not at set levels you get these new spells. It's when you reach a Bard level and your prepared spell number increases. So that happens 7 times. Not just 3 times, as in 5th edition. That happens 7 times, including 10th level in the 2024 edition. So whenever you reach a Bard level, including this one, level 10, and your prepared spells number increases, that's the other condition, so those 2 conditions are met, you can choose any of your new prepared spells. So you get 1 extra prepared spell. So basically, you get 1 spell from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, or Wizard spell list. And then here's the other thing. In addition, whenever you replace a spell that you have prepared in this class, you can replace it from a spell from one of those lists. And when can you replace a spell? anytime you level. So anytime you level, you want to swap out one spell for a spell from the wizard list, go ahead and do it. So even though you have a shrunken list of, a shrunken array of spell lists to choose from, you still got a lot more options. You have access to make those changes more often. Instead of just at 3 levels in 5th edition, it pretty much means like 11 times up through level 20, you can swap out a spell from any one of those 4 lists. So it gives the bard a lot of flexibility. Let's bring us to level 20 in 5th edition or level 18 in 2024, Superior Inspiration, which has had its mechanic changed. In 5th edition at 20th level, when you roll initiative and have no uses of Bardic Inspiration left, you get 1 use back. Oh, that's a great level 20 feature. Kind of an anemic feature for a level 20 character. So I think that's why they moved it to level 18 in the 2024 edition. When you roll initiative, you gain expended uses of Bardic Inspiration until you have 2 or fewer. So basically, you get 2. So instead of 1, you get 2, and it happens 2 levels earlier. All right, so we don't like having, I think that's why they changed the design, is that these level 20 skills, you're like, I finally reached level 20, and all I get is 1 Bardic Inspiration. Are you kidding me? So that's why I think when they did the 2024 edition, they tried to make those higher levels, especially level 20, seem a little bit more epic, which is why in level 19, you're getting your epic boon. You lose out on an ability score improvement, but you get your epic boon. And then at level 20, which is a far cry from the level 20 for 5th edition, in 2024, you get Words of Creation, which means you have Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill prepared. Now, you only get 1 level 9 spell slot, which means you can only cast either spell and only once, but just having those 2 spells prepared is powerful. What makes this even more powerful and potentially broken is the next part of the feature, which says when you cast either spell, you can target a second creature with it if that creature is within 10 feet of the first target. Now, I know this range is limited. It's only 10 feet. But the ability to do a 9th level, a power word heal to 2 targets, or a power word kill to 2 targets, that's essentially giving you another spell, a 9th level spell slot. And that's really powerful, borderline broken. So let's talk about overall. Overall, I like the changes to the Bard between the editions between 5e and 2024. It seems like the 2024 edition makes the class more flexible as a spellcaster. They play into their role of a jack of all trades more fully. I really like the rework of Counter Charm, as it allows the Bard to be more reactive than having to try to predict what the enemies are going to do and potentially wasting action. Having the ability to expend a spell slot to gain a use of Bardic Inspiration allows more flexibility as well, and it lets you focus your character on rebuffing your allies. Song of Rest was really the only feature that was from 5e that was completely removed, and it was a middling ability at best. So you know what? Good riddance, Song of Rest. We don't need it. The Bard is definitely more powerful in the 2024 version of 5e, with access to more flexible spellcasting options, and then you get the big power boost at the later levels with the Epic Boon, and then the Words of Creation, which, like I said, a little broken. If you liked this video or found it useful in any way, please give it a like, leave a comment, or share. Subscribe to this channel for more videos, and as always, thanks for watching.